Okay, so reading this chapter and kind of doing a little bit of research, I found myself a little bit confused. Um, so I figured I would just start off kind of mapping out what we went over in class. So geography versus political geography. So we said that geography is about distribution of land, water, and physical resources, and political geography is about the distribution of power. So I kind of took that as they go hand in hand. Um, so geography, where you live and where you're located, has a lot to do with the power that you have. So some of the tools of power distribution that I kind of thought were not more important, but that kind of stuck out to me would be desires and demands of people. And I think that a lot of times that's dependent on location. Resources are obviously dependent on location and what you're capable of getting, what's close to you. And then I also said that, or I feel like identity is very important. Uh, and we said that this can consist of fixed or malleable characteristics, and like a fixed characteristic is like your skin color. Malleable is like choosing what God you decide to follow. I think that identity can also be formed depending on geography, or like where you're located. I think that that has a lot to do with it. Like what you're around is what you're going to generally like believe in. Um, so then the next thing that I'm going to talk about is what the four elements of geography are. And then also I'm going to say put them in the order of which one I think is the most useful in distributing power, which whenever I read over them, I had a hard time trying to decide which one I thought or what order they went in. So, I mean, I don't know if there's a right or wrong answer for it, but this is just kind of what I thought. But I feel like I need to research a little bit more before I actually make a decision on that. But for number one, I put space. And the book described that as geographers study the spatial distribution of human activities and institutions of all kinds and their causes and effects. They are also interested in the influence of spatial organization on social, political, economic, and cultural processes. And I think that this is useful because institutions play such a big part in how people think. For example, I just thought of wrestling. That's an institution. And I think that growing up around that has influenced how I think and how I am as a person. And I mean, Ohio is a big wrestling state. I don't know why. I don't know if that has to do with anything, anyways. But maybe if I had lived somewhere else, I wouldn't have chose wrestling. I'm not really sure. But number two, I said place. And the book described that as geography involves the study of place, the characteristics of places, the relationship between people and their places, and the role of places and the difference between them in human activities. And I just said with this that where people live plays a big part in their identity, which is the biggest issue in our society today. And that's something that we talked about in class as well. For number three, so the third most useful in distributing power, I put environment. So geographers are or the book describes it as geographers are interested in the relationship between people and their environments, including their understandings of environments and their use of environmental resources of all kinds. This is important because as we learned the first day of class, resources lead to having more power. The last one I put was landscape, and it was described as geography focuses on the development of landscapes and the meaning and significance of landscapes for people. And I just related that to resources again. Pretty much with all of these, I feel like they're all pretty similar, I think. But in the book, it said that all of these concerns are central to human geography today. All of them have been subject to rethinking and reformulation over the years. And I found that kind of interesting because as I was reading them and struggling to figure out which one I felt was most useful, I know that it was hard for me to even decide or figure. I mean, they all have to do with where people are located and how that affects how they think and what resources they're capable of or they're close enough to. One of the examples that the book gave about kind of that reformulation or rethinking was the relationship between society and space has been the focus of much debate within human geography. And in my opinion, I thought that those, which was also mentioned later on, that they said that they can be studied separately, but the new rethinking said that that maybe that they're more in common than we think and should be studied together. And I agree with that. I don't think that they're as separate as maybe it was once believed. Okay, and then another thing in the book that I kind of saw that I thought was interesting was that it says that our access to money, materials, and organizations is partly a function of where we and they are, while knowledge, information, and symbolic understandings are the product of geographical contexts, and on many occasions have places in geography as their subject matter. So, once again, I took that as where we are plays a big part on what resources we have and what we get involved in as a society, such as institutions. Okay, the research question that I decided to go off of, I used my topic that I picked was an explanation for variations in support for the concept of climate change. And the question that I formulated was, is global warming a natural climate pattern in the history of the world, or is it being caused by human neglect to the environment? I'm not sure if that's exactly what we were looking for. I asked a few people about it and was a little bit confused on it. But I know that global warming, and it's like a left wing right wing thing, and I'm not really sure on super sure on details of it, but I know that pretty much the sides are that one side thinks that climate change is just a natural pattern. We've been around for billions of years, and it's just something that happens. The other side saying that us as humans are doing this, and it's our fault, and we're we're speeding up that process and making global warming. So they want to put in environmental policies, and then the other side doesn't agree with it. So I know that that's a big issue, and I think that where you're located has a lot to do with that, and something that I would be interested in learning more about. And then last, the 3 things that I'm interested in learning within the chapters, I went through the book, and I picked number 1 would be identity politics and social movements. Number 2 would be from welfare state to workfare state. And finally, number 3 would be nationalism and regionalism. And that is all I have. Thanks.